Okay, I'll call a meeting to order for the county board. And we'll start with a moment of silent meditation, then the Pledge of Allegiance. And I ask that you keep in mind the first responders and our protective service people. And also, in case anybody doesn't know it, I'm sure everybody's aware that Richard Trefecki passed away since our last meeting. So keep Richie and his family in your thoughts and prayers then too. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3, approval of the minutes from February 23rd. Meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Marv Klosterman, seconded by Randy Young. Is there any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, then by acclamation, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 4, public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, seeing none, then I guess we will move forward to the motion to deviate from the order of agenda. Is there motion by Devin Crejon, seconded by Gene Hoppy? Once again, by acclamation, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 6, the chairman's report. We have the land conservation. If you'd like to come forward and bring your whole crew up here from the poster contest, we'll run through with them. Got quite a few this time around.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Pull it down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm short. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary George, and I work with the Land Conservation Department, and I'm also a member of the Youth Education Committee for the Wisconsin Land and Water Association. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to share some very wonderful news. Shawano County Land Conservation has held a poster contest for the past 4 years. And this is held through the Wisconsin Land and Water and the National Association of Conservation Districts. Our poster contest is a nationwide contest which has 4 steps to it: the county level, area level, state level, and the national level. This year has been our best year yet. We had 110 posters from students from 5 different schools. We had posters for 3 out of the 5 age divisions. At the county level, in Division 2, grades 2nd through 3rd, we have Kendall Poquate, who placed first. We have everything up on the screen too in case you can't see some of our little ones. In Division 3, which is grades 4 through 6, Flynn Bushman placed first. He was unable to be here today. Megan Reyes placed second.
Pretty good, that's better than I could do.
And Grace Hegewald placed third, and she was also unable to come today. In Division 4, it is grades 7 through 9. Austin Stickney placed first. Julia Stuber placed second. And Jay Bisterfeld placed third. All of the first place posters from our county then were forwarded to the Lake Michigan area contest. In that contest, Kendall Pouquet placed second, and Flynn Bushman and Austin Stickney both placed first. Flynn and Austin's posters went on to the state level contest, and they were both in their own age groups. Austin ended up placing second in the state contest. All of our students will receive a certificate of participation. Each student who placed in the local contest will be given a placement medal and Shawano County Chamber bucks from the Land Conservation Department. I spoke to some very special friends about these students. Patty, the owner of the Dairy Queen here in town, decided that she wanted to give every student who participated this year a token for a free ice cream. When I told her that, she almost fainted. Daryl from Seagrave Fire Apparatus shared this information with the CEO and Chief Financial Officer of Seagrave. They wanted to do something special for these students as they were very impressed with their accomplishments. They hand chose gifts for each student who placed as a congratulations for their efforts. I spoke with Karen from Associated Bank. She was very impressed and hand chose gifts for each of our winners as well. I personally would like to thank each of the students who entered our contests, as well as their parents for their encouragement and support for their child. I would also like to thank the schools of Shawano County. They have been very supportive and instrumental in getting the information out to the students. And I'd like to thank the Market Messenger for a free advertisement of our poster contest. Lastly, I would like to thank Seagrave for their continued support of gifts for our contestants, as well as Dairy Queen and Associated Banks for supporting us with our contest this year. And I ask if anybody had any questions. Is that little one a hockey player? I have no idea. Yes.
I just would like to make a comment that a couple of years ago when we started out, we only had a couple posters. A couple of years ago when we started out, then we only had a couple posters. And to raise from maybe about 20 up in 3 years up to 110 is really something else. And I really like to congratulate these kids for doing this.
Yeah, adding to that, the first year we had about 17 or 18 posters. The second year we had 34, I believe. And then last year, because of COVID, we had 5. So going from those numbers to 110 was phenomenal. And a couple teachers were actually instrumental in getting this going. I spoke to the art teacher at Wittenberg, and she told me that the students worked so hard they gave up their lunch recess to do their posters. I think that's a big deal.
Okay. Yep. Oh, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, kid. Yep, we're done. The next item we have under the chairman's report is Dr. Jeffrey Ruffin is going to give us his report for the Northeast Technical College. I don't think it'll be as entertaining as the last presentation we had, but we'll see.
Well, good afternoon. And with that introduction, next time I'm going to bring my trumpet, and boy, will you be sorry. It's great to see all of you. It's been, I think, a couple of years. It just seems like this pandemic hit, and we lost 2 years in our lives. So I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for making time for me to at least comment about what's going on at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. Before I start, too, I'd like to recognize Rick Stadelman, who's right there in the back. He actually is our representative on our board of trustees from Shawano County. So any complaints you have, give them to him. No, I'll take them. And then also behind on the other side is Dr. Colleen Simpson. She's our Vice President for Student Services, but she also oversees all of our regional learning centers. And the manager of our regional learning center here in Shawano is Jeannie Otto, doing a wonderful job. And then I have Dan Mincheff, who is responsible for everything that has to do with IT and technology. So if you happen to have any questions that I can't answer, I'm sure they'll be able to answer them. Just want to give you a rather brief update of what's been going on at your Northeast Wisconsin Technical College over the last couple of years. Community college, technical colleges across the country experienced the greatest decline in enrollment through the pandemic of any of the higher ed institutions. And in fact, nationally, enrollment dropped by 13 to 15% across the country. In our case, we did have a drop of enrollment. Our enrollment dropped 7%. So comparatively speaking, I suppose we should feel better. However, a lot of that occurred, in fact, the most of it occurred amongst our male population. And for the most part, they did not come back. That has not bounced back. I don't know, certainly a part of it has to do with our economy. Right now, you can go out and get a job with no skills for 15, I've even heard $20 an hour. But we continue to work hard to bring those folks in. Overall, we have about 5,100 full-time equivalent students serving about 20,000 people a year. But we've also been doing some really great things, and one of those things is that if you look at the numbers of students who are graduating, in other words, they're getting credentials, we actually have been for the last 3 years at record levels. So while our enrollment has dropped, actually the numbers of people who are completing their programs and gaining credentials has increased. So from an outcome standpoint, we're feeling very good about that. And in fact, we have been recognized in a number of arenas for that. We received an award from Achieve the Dream, which is a national award. Only one is given out to a college each year for making the most progress in student success. We received that award last year. We also are identified as a leader college in the nation. And we received an award, a Bellwether Award, for the work that we've been doing on our 8-week sessions. Now, our business, our goal is not to get a bunch of awards, to be honest with you, but it's, of course, nice to be validated by our peers that we're doing well. But they also play a significant role in getting our name out and makes us more competitive, frankly, for grants. So, for instance, we just received a $2.2 million grant from Title III. That's a competitive grant. We were the only technical college in the 16 technical colleges to receive all of the grant funds that they applied for, $1.2 million from the state. So it does help make a difference in terms of getting your name out to that. We've received grants from the Gates Foundation, the Lumina Foundation, so a number of important, the National Science Foundation, folks that are out there. So that's great to be able to bring those resources to our community. We do continue to do well in terms of people finding jobs. Of course, that's more what we would expect in given this very tight labor market. Our median starting salary for our students with an associate degree is $45,000. I suspect after we get done doing the survey work for the students that graduated in June of '21, that number is going to rise significantly given the wage increases that we're seeing during this period of our economy and the inflation that we're seeing in our economy. One of the exciting things for us is that it appears, it's not official, but I'm going out on a limb and saying it, that we are going to get authorization from the university's Board of Regents to offer a transfer degree in the Associate of Arts and in the Associate of Science, which will allow students to complete their first 2 years at our institution at a much lesser cost than if they went to the university, and then enter into the university with junior status and go to the university for 2 years. That's been something that we've wished to have for a long time. In fact, our students have been doing this without, in a difficult way, but without us. 10 years ago, it was about 5% of our students indicated that they were coming to NWTC in order to continue their education when they leave NWTC, and that number has risen to 20% of our students last year, and every year that number has increased. Nevertheless, of course, our primary mission is, and we continue to pursue that vigorously, is to prepare people to go into the workplace and to take these highly skilled and highly technical jobs that our industries have, whether it be in the healthcare, or it be in manufacturing, or it be in the trades, or in business or information technology. Part of our way of doing this is really reaching down into our high schools and working hard with our high schools in order to get kids interested in going on to higher education. And we're doing that primarily through offering courses which we call dual credit courses. And that happens in a couple of different ways. Most students are doing it by taking courses that are being taught by their high school teacher, but that high school teacher is teaching our curriculum and using our syllabus and using our materials and books. So they're teaching this college course in the high school. And then we also have instances where we've sent our instructors out and they're doing the education. In the case of this part of Shawano County, of course, we only have a part of Shawano County, but if we look at the school districts that are in Shawano County in the part that we serve, this year so far we have 3,000 credits being taken by students in your schools. That equates to approximately $500,000 that they're not paying, that they are going to be able to take not only to our college, but they take that to the universities, they take it to private colleges, because those credits are generally accepted everywhere. This is something that we continue to grow because we find that, and the national data confirms that students that earn dual credits in high school are twice as likely to go on to college, and they're twice as likely to complete college. We really believe that every student needs to, at some point, get education beyond high school, whether it be at a technical college, whether it be at the university, whether it be by entering into the service, and of course, sometimes they're learning right on the job. But we know, just looking at this statistically, that without getting that kind of credential from one of those places, that you are more highly likely to be unemployed or to experience times of unemployment, particularly as the economy cycles and goes through the ups and downs of recession and then, of course, coming out of recession. So we want to make sure that our students, your students, our community members are prepared to weather those situations. And if they have education after high school, they're much less likely below the country's average in terms of experiencing unemployment. We know also, during the same 2-year period of time of the pandemic, we never really closed our doors completely. Now, of course, we did do a lot more remote teaching, but I don't know about you, but whenever somebody cleans my teeth, I hope they had experience on a real person and they didn't learn it just on the computer, or if they're welding, that they didn't learn it just by watching a computer, but they actually had that experience. So we ended up creating a lot of what we call hybrid courses, where students would take some of that coursework they would be able to do remotely. And if they didn't have a computer, we generally provided one to them. But then they would also come to the college to do the laboratory work and to work through the labs. So, and I think that that kind of hybrid instruction probably is going to linger on now after the pandemic in many cases, because for students, it adds more flexibility for them to be able to work, for them to be able to raise their families, and not have to come into an institution all the time. But that generally speaking, they want to come into an institution, we need them, so they'll still be coming part of that time, and that's the hybrid part of what we're doing. To make that easier, we converted from 15-week semesters to 8-week sessions. That's in your folder there. If you'll see, I explain what 8-week sessions are, but essentially, think of it this way. If a student's taking 4 courses in a 15-week semester, what they do instead now is they take 2 courses in 8 weeks and then 2 more courses in 8 weeks. Nationally, again, and our own data have shown that more students will complete their courses doing it this way, and they will take more courses and complete their degrees more quickly, and they continue to do better in their courses. So this is something that that we made that conversion during the middle of the pandemic, so we're pleased with the results that we've seen out of that so far. We also know that our students, and particularly in an environment like this where so many people are working, that many times those who are not working, or those who are working because they have no choice, they need to earn that money right now, they oftentimes will run into life happens to them. Perhaps they don't have enough food at the end of the month. Perhaps their car breaks down. Maybe they need to find another home because they were evicted because they couldn't afford the rent. They have childcare issues. We have created what we call emergency funds. When these kinds of things happen to our students, we want them to continue. And so our foundation has raised money, and we've managed to get the federal government to give us some money to build an endowment where essentially students will be able to come to us and we can give them a gas card for $25. Well, now we'd have to give it to them about $50, but at any rate, give them a gas card so that they don't miss one class, and it's the second class, and then it's the third class. Or we give them bags of food, or we provide housing assistance or childcare assistance. In all of these cases, we also provide students in this situation financial counseling, a meeting with a financial counselor so that they can hopefully put themselves in a better position to be able to handle these emergencies when they're happening to them outside of work. Also, what we find is that sometimes when life happens like this, the student will, in a 15-week semester, this happens in week 6 or week 7, and they're like, there's no way I can make another 8 weeks. But if it happens now in the week 6, well, okay, you only got 2 more weeks. Let's just figure out a plan to get through these next 2 weeks. And that has increased the overall retention in our programs. We continue to look for what is happening in the labor market in terms of emerging occupations and as they change. So some of those things are like in telecommunications. We're currently in partnership with Ensight and building out a laboratory that is teaching people how to climb those towers. If anybody wants to learn how to climb a tower and fix what's on top of that, let me know. You will not find me doing that, but however, there are people who will do that. We also are expanding our nursing program. Again, we expanded it once in 2005, 2006 when there was a nursing shortage. Now that nursing shortage is back again. In this case, we're expanding our part-time nursing. We expanded it in January of this past year, and now we're expanding it again in the fall to offer more to part-time nurses. Overall, we'll be training at any one point in time approximately 460 nurses a year. We also are doing more work in biomedical technology with the automation and the robotics that are happening in our hospitals. There's a great deal of demand for people who can keep that equipment up and running. Data analytics, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, virtual reality, all of these techniques are being adopted by our manufacturers. and they're emerging occupations, and we have started programming in that. In every case where we're doing these programs, we've also built relationships with the universities so that students can leave our program, go right to work, or if they wish, at some future point, or maybe right after the point, they can go on and get a bachelor's degree. And finally, in the health field, we've just started this year an echocardiogram program. That's to help us get to the heart of the matter, and that is as we provide technical education. We did receive a lot of federal money through the various, responses to the pandemic. About $8 million of that money went directly to students as just straight out payments, or was used for emergency funds. And the student actually could choose how they wanted to use that money. Many of them, of course, used it to pay for their tuition. We also did a debt forgiveness program for at least $1,000. So we forgave $1,000 worth of debt for those students who owed us that. What that did is that allowed students who could not register or sign up for courses because they owed us money to be able to do so. Most of the debt that was owed to us was for $1,000 or less. We also used then about another $8 million to build out programming that we're offering. Some of the things of interest are we built out a trailer that's essentially for fire science burn. And you can actually go into this trailer and we'll shoot fire over your head, just like if you were in a what do they call that? When the fire, I can't remember now, I'm sorry, over your head. We also outfitted an EMT trailer so we can do EMT training anywhere in the areas. So we're looking at different ways in which we can get this mobile training out to people. You can see included in your folder is some of the work that's been going on in the Shawano Regional Learning Center, which has been very active. Actually, the Shawano Regional Center is almost, if not quite, the third largest outlying campus that we have. Jeannie's just done an absolutely great job with the population, offering education in different ways, such as offering courses in 4-week concentrated period time. Take a course, 4 weeks and you're done. Now, it's not 4 weeks, 1 hour a day or 1 hour every other day. It's 4 weeks, but you're going to be spending 4 or 5 hours, 3-4 hours. But that's been extremely successful that we have. You can see on this same sheet the kinds of degrees and diplomas that we're offering out of that center, and we'll continue to offer. I spent the day visiting with Bondwell and Shawano High Schools, looking for ways that we can continue to work together and perhaps expand the programming that we have. So overall, I think we've had a very successful 2 years, if not trying 2 years. Hopefully we're past the worst of the pandemic. But if we're not, we at least know how to address it now. We've learned some lessons. But most importantly, we still remain committed to our overall mission of providing education to all students, regardless of their level of preparation, in areas of need by our businesses and manufacturers throughout the area. I'd be glad at any point in which to answer questions or concerns if you have them. But I thank you for your support and your ongoing support for what we're doing here at the Technical College on behalf of all of you of our communities.
Okay. Deb?
Yes, when you were talking about the condensed time frame for a course, narrowing it down to 8 weeks, and you mentioned Life Happens, I think you referred to it as the emergency funding for students. And I know when I was in college, I struggled. I had 2 part-time jobs, but I struggled. Ketchup packets and creamer make tomato soup. That, not fun. I take it it's still fairly prevalent enough that the Life Happens things do affect students to warrant putting together actually emergency funding?
Oh, absolutely. We track that every year. We also participate in a survey of students as they come in, and about 10% of our students identify themselves as being homeless. About 40% of our students are food insecure. And no, we can't meet all of the need. What we're trying to do is meet that crisis point need, and then get the student stabilized and then continue. But the last thing we want to see is a student leave the program because of some emergency that has happened, something unexpected that happened. Or if they need food, that's not an emergency. We give them food, a bag of food. They can get, I think, a bag every week. We want them to be able to do that because we know that the best way for them to get out of that cycle is to get the education, and that allows them to get the job.
Okay. That's a nice gesture. I was just wondering how prevalent it really was. And boy, I sure wish somebody would have had something like that when I was in school, but.
Well, if you want to come back, no.
Okay, is there any other questions anyone would have? Oh, okay, seeing none, I guess then, thank you very much for coming and providing us with the information. Then the only other item we have under the chairman's report is I was going to mention that at our last executive committee, we had put it in there and we discussed it and we dedicated, it's a large chunk of money, but we dedicated 1.1 million of the ARPA funds to establish a vehicle replacement fund for the sheriff's department. And that's still, is some more discussion needed yet, and that'll be up to the next executive committee to probably finalize that. And some of the talk is that vehicle replacement fund may cover more departments in the county besides just the sheriff's department. And then possibly even that would be taken out of, if we expand it to more departments, we would take it out of that department's budget, and then it would actually be a line item in the budget up more towards the top to where the departments really wouldn't have any control over it. The county board itself would have control over that, and that way it could be dedicated each year a certain amount of money, and it has to be done then. And then a department can't just decide not to buy cars this year and spend the money on something else. It has to go to cars, or they don't get it. So that was about all we come up with for that. And like I say, there'll be more talks in the future. It'll have to be on that of exactly how to, the best way to handle that, so we don't end up in the same spot that we got this last time around. With that, then, I'll move on. Number 7, reading of petitions. Memorials, is there any? None? Okay. We will move on. Item number 8, ordinance number 5-22. Kara?
Ordinance number 5-22 to amend ordinance number 7-16, the vehicle abandonment ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 23rd day of March 2022 that the vehicle abandonment ordinance is amended as follows by including the underlined language in section B, C, and D. This was submitted by Gerald Erdman, Richard Perfecki, Tom Kautza, Teresa Serrano of the Public Safety Committee.
Okay. For the record, Richard wasn't there at the meeting, and my name is on there. I couldn't make the meeting. I had the flu that day, so Rick Giese sat in my place then. Would anyone from the public safety like to comment on that? Jerry, Tess?
Yeah, I'll comment if you want somebody to comment on it. Yeah, we had gone over this, and with, the chair and the vice chair are able to sit in on any meeting to make a quorum if need be, but with Rick coming in, it's a simple ordinance. It's a simple vote in my mind to at least take care of these abandonment issues that the county has. So, no, this is in my in my mind, this ordinance is needed. It's simple. It'll give a little revenue maybe to the sheriff's department, but in the long run, it's certainly gonna hopefully cut down on the number of abandoned vehicles if they have to pay more for them.
Is there anyone else? Any questions, comments? Deb Nofke.
I guess I'm torn on this one because you can't have vehicles sitting on the side of the road everywhere. That's a safety issue. But on the flip side, we just listened to the doctor talk about life happens moments that students go through. And I wish there was a way to make maybe waive the storage fee for the first 2 days if they were able to get the vehicle out of there. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and decides, I hate this car so much, I'm just going to leave her on the side of the road. It's got to be something that broke down or something that happened wrong. I guess it'd be nice if there was some kind of an incentive to get them to get that car out of storage promptly, because we shouldn't be a storage yard. And George is making a motion over here, and I think I can ask a non-board member to speak, so I'd like to hear what George has got to say.
Okay. Wait. Let, with the mic, George, yeah.
This abandonment ordinance doesn't have anything to do with vehicles abandoned on the roadway. These are for vehicles that are in our evidence storage, or
Okay.
sitting in our storage where we can't get rid of them. We need room. The owners won't pick them up. And if you know the whole thing, we send a certified letter after they sit there for 10 days, and we tell them in that certified letter, now, at this point, you're going to start getting charged. Right now, we've been charging $25, and we're raising that to $50. And we're also charging an administrative fee of $75 because our evidence tech, Ann Holcomb, if they don't pick this vehicle up and she's got to clean all of the garbage out of it, then we have to try to salvage it, and we usually lose money on it. But this is just a way to make a little bit of revenue on some of the people that are not picking their vehicles up. Right now, we have 14 vehicles in the Dennison building. And out of those 14, I think 12 are evidence that we're waiting to go through court. So we can't charge any fees for those. So right now, we only have 2 that are waiting on some search warrants, and then they'll be released. And what this ordinance covers, once those are ready to be released, the people don't come pick them up. Then we can start charging a storage fee for each day they sit there.
Okay, I'm actually reading what the resolution says, though, and it says no person, under A, it says no person shall leave unattended any motor vehicle, trailer, semi-trailer, or mobile home, good Lord, on a public highway.
Yeah, and that's but most of those vehicles we don't take to our impound. Those are the tow truck companies, and we have nothing to do with what they charge fees for. Most of the tow truck companies will charge
Their own fees.
their own fee.
Okay,
We
so
don't
this
have
is-
nothing to do
Your
with
intention is this fee will only apply to vehicles that you've got stuck in a,
These are vehicles
Like
that we have stuck in our evidence are at the
Okay.
Dennison building because we need room for our own vehicles and stuff that is waiting for court or needs to be processed.
okay, it just still seems like it could apply to the unattended motor vehicle, semi-trailer, mobile home, because it does say on a public highway.
Yeah.
If it-
I don't think we're gonna get in the business of towing abandoned vehicles on the roadway, though. We don't have a record to do that. And plus, we would get stuck with the record bill if we towed them to our evidence bay.
Okay, and I think that's why some of them are there on the road, waiting to try to figure out how to get them off without having to, because they can't afford a record bill.
Yeah, then, if they're a hazard where one of Grant's guys or something says this is in the way of our plow, then we contact a tow company that, first we have to find a tow company that'll tow it without charging us, because we don't want to get stuck with that bill and Grant doesn't want to be stuck with that bill, so. and there are a few that will hold them. But there's tow companies out there that don't even want to mess with those because the vehicles aren't worth anything, and then they get stuck with them. People sometimes, the car breaks down, it's not worth getting fixed, and they just abandon it there.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification, because I was just a little worried that this might be some poor college student's car on the side of the road. You don't want to do that to them. And the way it reads, I guess it could be.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then if you are in favor of ordinance number 5-22, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. Oh, excuse me. We didn't have the, oh, okay, she just read it and I jumped the gun. Okay, motion by Jerry. Is there a second? Second by Tess. Now, are there any more questions or comments? Sandy, Stanky? No? Okay. Okay, now, since there are no questions or comments, we have a motion and a second for ordinance number 5-22. If you are in favor, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. 21 yes, 1 no, so the resolution is passed. Or excuse me, the ordinance is passed. Item number 9, resolution number 12-22. Kara?
Resolution number 12-22, resolution urging state elected officials to use expected 2021 to 2023 budget surplus to fund rural fire and ambulance emergency services. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in this session, this 23rd day of March 2022, that Shawano County Board of Supervisors encourages the governor in conjunction with the state legislators to use a portion of the $3.8 billion surplus to fund Wisconsin's rural emergency services. Be it further resolved that the Shawano County Board of Supervisors encourages our elected state officials to allocate $30 per resident to fund all public government-owned and operated ambulance services, and $30 per resident to non-governmental ambulance agencies serving a rural area covering less than 15,000 residents, and $20 per resident to fund volunteer fire departments, both in a pro rata share based upon population. This was submitted by Kevin Conrad, Jerry Erdman, Gerald Erdman, Richard Furfecki, Rick Giese, Tom Kautza, and Kathy Lipke of the Executive Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Kevin Conrad, seconded by Gene Hoppy. This was sent to us from other counties, one of them generic ones, resolutions that are going around. And I put it on the agenda for the Executive Committee, and basically, when you follow through it, they're projecting a big budget surplus, the state is, that there's going to be all this money. And in short, the resolution is requesting the state to think about using some of the money for emergency responders instead of just giving everybody a $150 check. John Ainsworth.
Thank you. We did at one time return some money to taxpayers. We found out that a lot of the taxpayers who had actually received and cashed the checks didn't remember that they got the check. And then we had to have someone trace the date when it was sent and when it was cashed and so forth. It cost somewhere in the 7 figures to send them out. This is a much, much better idea than returning $150 in today's economy. You might be able to go out for dinner.
Or maybe get your gas money to go to the poll so you vote right. Kevin Conrad.
I guess the comment I would make, I think anytime we can get the state or the federal government to filter money down to the locals, it will be spent a lot more wisely and where needed.
Arlen Tober.
Yes, I'd just like to say that the last time they did it, I think we got $150, but about $150 for each person, or how much ever it was. But half the money went to pay some company or whatever it was in Minnesota to send out the checks for us. So, I mean, half the money, surplus money, just got wasted. So I agree 100% with this.
And that was my thinking too, Arlen. That's why I put it on for the Executive Committee, so we could get it done and run it through, because there is a problem out there for first responders right now of the funding is definitely needed. Everything is going up and like we're froze here, the small municipalities are also froze, so you can't raise no revenue. Joe Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The political aspect aside, the need is tremendous. So I wholeheartedly agree on that aspect, especially in the western end of the county. Our EMS services are struggling out there trying to maintain. Tigerton, Wittenberg, Mattoon, they're all struggling. I don't even know if Gresham's even existent. So the need is there, and that's where I would focus my attention on. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none then, if you are in favor of resolution number 12-22, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. 22 yes, 0 no, so the resolution has passed. Item number 10, resolution number 13-22. Kara?
Resolution number 13-22 to approve 1.5% wage increase for non-union regular full-time employees. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 23rd day of March 2022 that it approves 1.5% wage increase for all non-union regular full-time Shawano County employees as defined in the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual effective July 4th, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 at a cost of $107,851.96. This was submitted by Kevin Conrad, Jerry Erdman, Rick Giese, Tom Kautza, Kathy Lipke of the Executive Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Sandy Stanky, seconded by Kathy Lubke. This again came through from the Executive Committee. When I was down at East Central, about 6 months ago, and it was budget time, actually not quite 6, thereabouts, and they had a question of what, on a county roundtable discussion between the chairpersons from some of the surrounding counties of what they gave out for raises, and we lost ground again last year compared to everybody else around us. I believe everybody else around us gave a 2 or a 2.5, in some cases 3% raise. And the governor must have been paying attention to what we did with the jailers here. And if you didn't see it or hear it anywhere, he took some of the ARPA funding and gave a $3 an hour increase, the same as we did, to jailers and the ones in their correctional facilities because they're way behind and way underpaid. So we brought this forward with the idea that the money is sitting there in the coffers, and it appears like this last year we will have money left over from our budget. We're not going to be over budget once it's finally closed out. There's still items that have to come in yet before we can close it. And the year before, there was a substantial amount from 2021 was put in there. And the employees did save, it should be noted in there, over $52,000 by taking a higher deductible health plan. And maybe I'm wrong, but I always feel if they can save the money, we should be rewarding them with some of the money they're saving. That'll help morale. That'll get people thinking more, not just maybe going through their day and just getting done. It'll bring up suggestions, and it may make the department heads' jobs just a little harder because they'll have to deny a lot of them suggestions, and they maybe won't be good ones, but if you get a few good ones out of it, it's worth it. So, Kathy Lubke.
Yes, we need to start treating our employees as a valuable asset to the county. If we're not paying them, they're going to go elsewhere, and we're going to lose this expertise. And then we have to start at Plan 1. This 107,000 really, when you subtract the 52,000 that the employees saved with their choice of the insurance, that's really nothing. I think we need to go ahead with this.
Joel Miller.
Mr. Chair, I'm not a mathematician, but on a, say, a $20 an hour salary, 1.5 would equate to 30 cents? Somebody help me out here. Okay. Peanuts. You know the old saying, keeping up with the Joneses? Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm very staunch, appreciate and respect fiscal conservancy. However, it sounds like fiscal conservancy has gotten us in a predicament that this county's been in and is in, to some degree. So, you know, and I'll end this by saying, if you don't keep up with the Joneses, everybody that works for you will be working for the Joneses. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Deb Nofke.
Joe just touched on something that on a $20 an hour position, it's like 30 cents. And he's right, and that's part of the concern is we don't have everybody at $20 an hour. We have a wage range that goes up into the $50 an hour mark. And so the percentage for the lower paid worker bee that's actually doing quite a bit of the work, it's not as much of an incentive, and I think that's where we're having some problems filling the jobs, is in the lower ends. 1.5% of $20 is different than 1.5% of 50. You know, I mean, when you really look at the overall impact. I'm not sure if these blanket percentage increases are correct. And you mentioned, Tom, that the other counties had given 2.5% to 3%?
Some have.
Okay, because we budgeted, I believe it was an additional 1.5%, it was 1.5% during the budget. And then this would bring it up to 3%. But when
But for the second half of the year.
for the second half of the year.
Yes.
But when I questioned about the 1.5% at budgeting, and I wanted to make sure with Jimmy that was that different than the step evaluation increase that they can earn or not? And apparently it was different because they have all you need is a successful annual evaluation and you have an increase. You have a wage increase. So I think we're at, with the 1.5, this 1.5, and assuming that you have a meets expectations evaluation, we actually have combined about a 5% increase. Because that annual evaluation should give you about a 2%, I think there were 2% increases that Carlson Detman had on the little matrix.
Yeah, Deb, so it depends on where you're at with the scale. So a step increase can be anywhere from 1% to maybe less than 1%, to 2%, depending on where you're at the scale. So
Okay, again, we've got a disparity in as far as percentages on the lower end worker bee versus the higher end. So I'm not sure that we're looking at this correctly as just throwing a blanket percentage.
But then
Those that are doing the work, we should have probably a higher lift for the bottom end than we do at the top. And I know everybody at the table up there is going to frown at me, but that's the way it is. My other concern is how does this compare to the elected officials, which we set the salaries? I'm not talking county board because we set ourselves 0 increase. I'm talking like your clerk of courts, county clerk, register of deeds. We set those salaries prior to the term, and it's a 4-year term. And I believe those are only 2. Kara, do you remember? 2%?
They were 3%.
3? Okay, because we actually have in those positions, they're not just figureheads, we actually have working people in those positions.
In some cases. I'll comment no further.
I think we actually have working people in all of those positions. And I'm also concerned about how we do still have a bargaining unit. How does this compare to the increase that the represented employees will have that we've agreed to?
I don't know, but we can't, it would be.
Does
we
this
can't
put them
open the-
above, does this,
It would be foolish, Deb, to open the contracts back up, because then we can offer them this 1.5%, and they can say, no, the contract's open now, we want 3. And then we're.
that's
then we're-
ironically, Tom, that's my point, is if the,
Yeah.
if you've given a higher increase to non-represented, that's what they're gonna ask for when the contract opens again.
Very well could
Over
be,
the
yeah.
course of the contract, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, they get a 2% increase every year, which would be greater than what the average employee or the employee receives that is not a union member. So their contract is due to be open on September 23rd to relook at the union contract for the deputies. If we open the contract early, as Tom has alluded to, they can request other things, but also there would be a cost to us in attorney fees doing it early, because we would also then have to open it up again. So.
Okay, I'm not sure where everybody got off on this tangent of opening it early. That was not the suggestion. I just want to know what the comparison is as far as what we've given the non-represented versus people that are under a current contract. My concern is sustainability. I mean, I realize that this is a lift for only half the year. So presumably next year, instead of 108,000, it'll be about 215. About 216,000, just shy of $250,000. And the concern is that we have to come up with some kind of a longer range plan or a mechanism for sustaining this stuff. Because what are you going to do when the ARPA funds run out? What do you,
This
know,
is
your
an ARPA
saving
fund money,
cushion,
Deb.
your savings cushions aren't going to last forever. You can't just pay them all out in wages.
This is an ARPA fund money.
This is true, but we can replace some of the projects that we would have spent money on with the ARPA funds if we're doing things right. We need to develop something in a sustainability.
No, one at a time, one at a time. I got chewed out last time about people talking at random. Are you done, Deb?
I guess I do have concerns about sustainability.
Okay.
Tom, was there any questions you wanted me to answer about the pay?
Jerry Erdman.
Okay, thank you. The issue, as I see it, has been going on for years. Shawano County being conservative really hasn't caused the problem. Being conservative has helped us to a certain degree. Our issue, and I'll say it, and I'd like to wring all the necks in Madison, it's the levy limits they've put on us that basically cap us, because if our health insurance goes up what we can legally raise, how do you give a increase in salary? So with at least our staff taking options and cutting down the cost of the health insurance, if they're saving it, okay, then let's reward them for saving it.
Arlen Tober.
Yes, you'll have to excuse me a little bit. My hearing aids, I got problems today with it. But I was just wondering, so I didn't hear, maybe it was brought up already. This 1.5%, is that going to be the above and beyond what we had in the budget?
Yes,
And so this is added on to that? 'Cause
yes,
Then I can support it, because it should be raised up.
yes. This
And
is
then
above
I'll-
and beyond, Arlen.
And then I also have another question. It says here that it's got to be a 2/3 vote. Is that a vote to the whole board, even though 6 are?
Yes,
Is
it
that
takes,
consider-
because the money that they saved from the roughly 52,000 that they saved by changing health insurance and that around
Yeah.
is this year's budget money. Technically, anything else that we would be spending would be coming out of the general fund. And that's where the 2/3 comes in. And I personally looked it up to it. That is a requirement in our rules, and it is part of the state statutes, to where when you draw it back out, it has to be 2/3 of the full board that was elected.
Yeah, I know it comes from there, and that's why I agree 100% with
Yeah.
this. But I was just wondering another thing, that it is 2/3 vote of the total board.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Kevin Conrad.
Yes, I think we need to support this. It'll help catch up a little bit. It's still not going to catch us up totally, but we have to start somewhere. And I understand Deb's concerns about, every raise that we give, we have to come up with that money next year too, but we'll find it.
Okay. Okay, Sandy.
Deb, the other thing you have to remember, if somebody's at $30 an hour and somebody else is at 15 or 16, that person at $30 might have been here 30 years. So they're going to get a little more raise. That person that's 16 in 30 years will be at that rate, hopefully. But that's how it progresses. So you have to remember they will get their dues and get that pay, but they will earn it up to that point. So, I mean, it will progress to that eventually. As the years go by, their 2% will add up to that amount. So eventually, they will be there. So,
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then if you are in favor of resolution number 13-22, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. Steve? Okay, 21 yes, 0 no with 1 abstain, so the resolution has passed by the 2/3. Item number 11, we have under annual reports, and the one from the building maintenance has been turned in, so if you have any questions or comments on it, you can review it and talk to Steve Dreyer about it. Item number 12, report by the Executive Committee on General Accounts.
Okay, first off, I want to say that the amount up on the screen is incorrect. I didn't change it from the last meeting. The number for the general accounts for,
The amount isn't up.
it didn't- okay. That amount,
No.
yep, the 516 is incorrect.
Oh, okay. I gotta look way at the top at an angle. I can't hardly see that.
So that was from last month's agenda, sorry about that. The total amount for general accounts for March is $483,836.67.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Devin Crejon, seconded by Randy Young. Any questions or comments? And if you are in favor of paying the bills, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. Marvin? 22 yes, 0 no with 2 absent, so the bills will be paid. Item number 13, special order or appointments. The only one we have up this month would be to reappoint Doug Engel to the Airport Commission. Do we have a motion to do that? Gene Hoppy, second. Second by Steve Geetz. If there is any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then by acclamation, if you are in favor of reappointing Doug Engel to the Airport Commission, you would vote A. If not, you would, well, by acclamation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Item number 14, committee minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Bill Swatala, seconded by Kevin. Is there any questions or comments on the committee minutes? Okay, seeing none, then once again by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 15, board member comments or new business to be considered at a future meeting. The only thing I was going to say at this point is I wish everybody luck in the election who has competition, who isn't running again. I will run again for the chairman's position. I don't think I'm doing too bad, but if it's up to you guys, if you want to kick me out, you can kick me out. It's a lot easier, I learned, to set back there than it is to set up here, an awful lot easier. The only other thing I'd like to bring up is this is our actual last meeting for 3 members. I believe John is retiring, Marvin and Jean, correct? We have no others that are retiring. Should thank them very much for their time and dedication. We all know what it takes to represent the people of your area. Joel, you'd like to comment?
Thank you.
On this or on something else, Joel?
Board comment.
Oh,
Or is
okay.
this a- never. let me-
No, I mean, till we're done with
Oh,
thanking them for retiring.
No, I'd echo the sentiment.
Okay. So hopefully we have good replacements for you guys. Well, we'll find out after the elections. So thank you very much for your time. Joel Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This is working.
That.
Try it, Daddy. Okay. No,
Thank you.
That might have been me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I might have bumped it twice.
I have 2 items, it's very important. Recent events. Been thinking about this. First one I'll start off with is an announcement that was made in front of us at the last county board meeting and public comment. When a former short-term board member announced his candidacy for I believe it's a 6th Assembly District, currently held by Gary Token and his retirement. I didn't say anything at the time because I needed time to think about it. But my question is, do the residents of the 6th Assembly District in Shawano County, residents, deserve a candidate recently convicted of a violent offense? I'm not, Madam, Mr. Chair, that's a question I'm going to pose, and whoever wants to answer it later on. I'm not asking for an answer to that right now.
Okay.
If I may continue, do those residents in Shawano County potentially deserve that type of representation? Even, it's shameful that the individual is even considering it. So the people in this county need to understand, and I don't know if they're aware of it, that individual and his criminal background. So currently pled down to a misdemeanor, which allows that individual to run for public office, but yet on 2 years probation, starting last October. So that's my question regarding that individual. My question to him would be, come and explain how he feels suitable to represent us. Not only the residents of District 21, which is in the 6th Assembly seat, but many other districts. Item number 2, and I don't know, the crickets, the silence regarding all the innuendos, accusations going on regarding the sheriff. It is extremely disturbing. I detest anybody making false accusations, totally detest it. I want to make that accurate because everybody has a right. But what I'm not hearing, the silence I'm not hearing, is any denials. So, I'm sorry, but a law enforcement officer, and in the state of Wisconsin, the alleged activity is still a crime on the books. So, I am publicly calling for resignation, sheriff's resignation, because I believe it is in the best interest of all the residents of Shawano County to have the best representation possibly they can have from their elected officials. I do not take this easily. I bear responsibility, but I have a responsibility to openly and publicly address those matters. And I believe that all the residents of Shawano County deserve to know what's going on. Thank you very much.
Okay. Arlen Tober.
Yes, I was to a meeting of the PACE from Wisconsin again. That's where they go to work and give out money or help companies that are building like hotels or housing units and stuff like that. And they'd like to get into the farms more, but so far only one farm, and that was in Shawano County, that applied for money. And that's about 2 years ago, and outside of that, farms don't get involved, it seems. But they do put in money that if you go to work and kind of green stuff like good windows and heating systems, cooling systems and all that. If you put in the right stuff, you save quite a bit of money on it over just the ordinaries. And can get that in, and what you save on there, PACE will go to work and look at it, figure it out how much you're saving, and those savings then go back towards paying back the money that they did. And it's really a good outfit. If you know of any things that are trying to build, like housing units or stuff like that, should just get a hold of PACE and they'll look them over. Like here, it used to be everything was either Milwaukee or Madison, but now it's getting quite a bit all over. And one is here's one in Waukesha County. Well, that's a hotel going up. And then there's one in Dane County. Well, that's Madison again. But then again, there's one now in Outagamie County. And where's the other one? And one in Winnebago County, and another one in Brown County. And they go to work, and PACE works with the local banks in those communities to get the money to do that. And so PACE is not holding the bill, but the banks are, local banks. And it's working out really good, and we're talking, like here, one of them is $560,000. One is talking not to exceed $4,700,000. And another one is $2,700,000. So we're talking a lot of money, and it's easier that way too for people that invest in this stuff. Don't have to borrow the whole money to do it. They can get this year money on the side and do this extra stuff where they're saving money, where they can save on operation, and that pays for it. So, I mean, if anybody knows of something that's being built or gonna be built, contact us, and then you can maybe get in on this stuff too. It's something to look into. Especially like if we're gonna build a library or something, if we ever get into it, we should check that out before we do stuff. So I just wanted to report on, that's one of the meetings. We meet every month, so.
All right, thanks, Arlen. Gene Hoppy.
I want to say thank you to the whole board. I've put in 18 years here, and I don't know anybody on the board that I wouldn't want to work with. And I think that I'll remember all of you forever. And also you, Tom. Good luck on the next election.
Well, we'll see what happens, Gene. They might vote me out. John Ainsworth.
Thank you. I'd just like to mention the discussion about the potential candidate for the assembly. If you allow one person, one candidate to speak, I believe the state law says you have to allow each to speak. We could get into full-fledged campaign speeches before the board, and it's been pretty much nonpartisan as far as the board is concerned. I think we have to be a little careful as to how wide we have opened the door. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to item number 16, claim report. Oh, okay, Deb?
Yep, I'll be brief here. I'm still trying to be under comments, board member comments. This morning I found out I got 2 calls about why didn't you answer some questionnaire, Deb? And it's like, what questionnaire? Apparently the leader sent some questionnaire out that I'm supposed to have not responded to, which I guess might be true since they never sent me one.
Trying to
And
club, I didn't get one either.
Yeah, I did call in to find out how it was supposed to have been sent, and that's several hours now, and I guess they still don't know. So I'd love to answer questions. I'm not shy.
Okay. Okay, now we will move on to item number 16 then. Claim report of County Board Supervisors mileage. Kara, per diem.
For today, 22 members are present, 2 are absent, 3 vacant, for a total of $2,017.39.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Gene Hoppy, seconded by Steve Geets. Sorry, Kathy, I just can't remember that. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then if you are in favor of getting paid for today, you would vote yes. If not, you would vote no. $22 yeses, 0 no, so everybody was looking to get paid. Item number 17, the next meeting date for those that are coming back is Tuesday, April 19th. Remember, it's a Tuesday, not the Wednesday, and that's by statutes for the new organizational meeting for the board. And there are also, Marvin, you had asked one time, you are actually still a county board member until that date. So if there's anybody that is retiring or leaving, you still are, if there's committee meetings, you still are a county board member until that date. That's when, I guess, yours officially ends and the new term officially takes over, because that's the date they're sworn in on. So any meetings that do come up, committee ones, before that date, you should attend. With that, we are up to a motion to adjourn. Motion by Joe, second by Tess. And no one really argues about that. So if you are in favor of adjourning, aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.